ask everyone to silence their phones, please. It's 6 p.m. We'll call the regular village board meeting for April 15th to order. Have the roll call, all those present. Donnie Kern present.
Present.
Ms. Marino present?
Ryan Seacard present.
Frank Cron present.
And then we have one vacancy. We have one vacancy, so sorry, thank you. I will speak up louder. So we have a vacancy for the 7th spot, which we will deal with later on the agenda. At this time, I ask everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance.
States of America. And to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item of business is public comment on agenda items. 2 minutes per person, 14 minutes per topic. Is there anyone here for public comment on agenda items?
Here I am.
Yes. I know, we know you, but if you can state your name again for the
You bet.
minutes.
I'm Margie Metzdorf, and if you need an address, it's 798 Plum Tree Lane here in Somerset. I've got a couple things I want to say. First of all, welcome Jessica. It's been nice to see another female on our board. Secondly, I appreciate having a little more explanation of what these resolutions are that we're voting on. In the past, it would throw out resolution number something, and none of us had a clue what it was, so we didn't know if we wanted to come and listen to you guys or not. And then I guess the third item, I know on here we say appointing a village trustee, and I don't know how that works or why, but I know we normally
We'll
vote
talk
them
about that
in.
when we get to
And if,
that.
when you get to that point, if you could explain that a little bit. And also, I think there's something on here about a president pro tem. If you could explain what that person does too, I'd love to hear it.
We will discuss
And
that.
thank you for speaking up so we can hear you. Some of us are old.
Thank you for the reminder. I will. And just remind me if I start speaking softer.
I will.
I know you will. Thank you, Marty. Anyone else for public comment?
Do you want us to wait?
No, we have you on the agenda, so, we can have you talk at that point if you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone on Zoom for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of agenda. Your motion,
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yep.
wondering if we could, move up,
You gotta speak up too, Donnie.
Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering if we could, move up the president pro tem appointment to the beginning of the business, so we have the president pro tem appointment first, and then we can forward up the rest of the committee agenda. Make that a motion.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to move that up on the agenda. Any discussion?
I guess under that, I think we'd like to appoint the village trustee before we do the pro tem. I think the order is where it should be.
Any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say
Aye.
aye, or say aye, I'm sorry. All those in favor, all those against say nay.
Nay.
Nay,
I'm an aye, sorry, I'm an aye.
three yeses, 3 noes.
Motion fails. Yeah.
That's correct. And a tie, the motion fails, so,
Brenda Crowe make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
well, we have to approve the agenda yet. But we're still on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Approval of,
Agenda.
I would like to receive last week's. We don't have to do anything, then, do we?
No, just a motion to, and a second to approve. Okay. We have a motion from Brandon, second from Chris Marino to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Those opposed say nay. Motion carried. Moving on to the,
Roll call on that? Who was the call, Mr. Chairman?
I did not.
was there any nays?
agenda.
If
Are we approving last month's agenda or this
the
agenda?
current agenda presented right in front of us. If, are you calling for a roll call, Donnie?
No, I was just asking what your.
No, I don't feel we need a roll call. I'm just, because I did not hear any nays and it seems like it was consensus of the board as it
Okay,
was unanimous. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Randy Crowe make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Just a comment, there's this item that was struck because it was listed in new business. So that's why that item is struck. It was listed in both places, so just for clarification.
Donnie Kern, second.
Motion by Brandon, second by Donnie Kern. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed say the same. Motion to approve all the consent agenda items. New business, discussion and possible approval of village trustee.
I'd like to make a motion to,
Let me just, this is, not a village board appointment. This is an election by the board itself. So, if nominations will come from the board. It would fill the one-year term of my, former, trustee, seat that has 1 year remaining. So that would, whoever is appointed to that would fill that remaining 1 year. Any other comments on?
it's a board decision to make an appointment.
Or, but we also could have an election for that position also, under special election.
You could,
Okay.
yeah,
I just want to confirm that there could be a special election for the open seat.
it's unusual to do that.
Understood. And we've held them open before. And waited till the next election.
You don't have to appoint anybody. One of the drawbacks you've just seen, having an even number of members,
Mhm.
you can have potential tie votes. I make a motion to nominate Caleb Garn as the 1 year spot that's open.
Randy Crowe second.
Motion by Chris Marino, second by Brandon Crone to nominate Caleb Garn for the vacant trustee.
Discussion,
Yes, okay, go ahead, discussion.
whenever Mr. Chairman calls on me, I'm not gonna step out, so.
No.
I understand the appointment and I kind of question the fact that we're taking, a hasty appointment to this thing without soliciting to other individuals. That have or would be willing to solicit for that open seat. I think, maybe we take a moment to at least put it out there for everybody. And, doesn't mean that Caleb couldn't be at it, but I'd like to have other individuals at least have the opportunity to be able to warrant expressing interest, no different than anybody else. So I think, we're a little fast on in that regards.
Understood. My point is just trying to get the board up and running as efficiently as possible, so.
Right. Board can run with 6. We've ran with 6 before.
Any other discussion?
As my only comment would be that,
Go ahead, Brandon.
Caleb would seem to be the most fitting to take that. He got the 4th most votes. He's already shown he's willing to serve and, I think he'd be a great fit.
And I've talked to other colleagues that feel that need to at least solicit out and talk to, at least put it out in the public and see what we can get. I don't think there's anything pressing on our agenda that we can't at least, hold the position open for a month and solicit for anybody that wishes to be considered by this board.
How come they didn't run in the election? Good question.
I agree.
It was on Facebook.
I do too.
It was on
And
Facebook.
I figured he was the next one in line, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Caleb's done a great job.
But at the same
Just
time,
a
it's
second.
also fair
From the board, from comments
to
from the
take
board.
other suggestions if other people are.
I will say this, I made, several online,
He did, I saw.
um,
Not regarding this.
no.
though. That was regarding committee.
on committee appointments, correct. But the point of that is, I only received one, inquiry to that, so. Just say, saying the interest level may not be there as much as we expect, and just,
Did we consider this other applicant?
all that applicant was applying for a position on committees. Not, yeah, so that's all I'm saying is I only received one application for additional, to serve on committees. Just,
You weren't asking no for.
no, I know, what I'm saying though is judging, that's the interest level out there. It may be, not, we may not, find, someone that wants to step up.
That's a possibility, sure.
Again, my point is that the reason why I want to try to address it tonight is to get us up to full strength and moving forward and start working together and getting the business of the people done in the most efficient manner, so. Any other discussion? We have a motion on the table to appoint Caleb Garn to the village trustee seat.
Roll call vote?
Yeah, I was gonna call for a roll call. Roll call vote. Donnie,
No.
Jessica,
No,
Chris,
Yes.
myself, yes. Brandon,
Yes.
Chris, Tubin.
nay.
Mr. Chairman, I moved to table the matter of village trustee appointment till next month's meeting. And we solicit for it and open and see if there's any
We will,
additional individuals on it. And if there's any additionals, we can pick it up at next month's meeting.
Yes, we will, figure out a plan to solicit information, nominations or applicants and, take it up at,
Pardon?
That was a motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Yeah. There's a motion.
Second motion.
I'm just clarifying that we want to take up nominations and then, revisit it at a future meeting, whether it's next month or a special meeting or whatever, as soon as we get applicants in.
That's what my motion was for next
For
month.
next month.
Or do your due diligence. Make sure.
Roll call vote on that motion, please.
Discussion?
Yep.
Just on that, any individuals, that would be soliciting for the open position should reach out to the clerk and or the offices and then be disclosed to all the board members as to what their interests are and what their, capabilities are. If
What
they're
I
interested.
propose is we'll quickly revise the committee application form for this seat, and we'll get that published to the website and communicated out. So give us a couple days to get that
Sure.
revised and use that same form that we used with that we started after last year's appointment
Yeah,
process.
that was an excellent thing to put forward, Mr. Chairman. But I think everybody on the board should get a copy of whatever.
No, as they come in, we'll make sure they are distributed out to the board. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
any other discussion before we call for a roll call vote on that motion? Hearing none. Donnie,
Aye.
So what's this one on now?
this is to
Table.
Table it till next month.
Okay.
and solicit applicants and then reconsider the appointment for next month. Other questions?
Oh, thank you.
Done?
Aye.
Aye.
Chris?
Nay.
Nay,
Nay,
Aye.
motion failed.
Question for the attorney, if I may. Another villages I've been involved with is a tie vote, the president vote broke that tie.
Well,
Although
typically
then the
that's a-
president. One of the original voters, he's-
No, my vote as president, when I vote, is no different than any other trustee.
There's a difference between a village and a city. In a city, the mayor doesn't vote. If there's a tie, then the mayor votes. So maybe that's what you're.
Maybe that's,
Mhm.
could be.
In a village, you can vote just like any other trustee.
But if the matter is not disposed of, point of order for the parliamentarian here, the matter is not disposed of, we can move on to other items on the agenda, correct?
Yeah, let's move on, and, we'll go on to item 7B. Discussion and possible approval of community cleanup day.
He has to be on.
They did?
Yep.
Okay, well, I know this is involves the champions group. Let me see if I can pull up.
yeah, what are we actually signing up for, Bob? Do you know what they actually signed us up for? Cause we usually do bags and that's it. And then-
think it's just.
Where'd Steve go? Steve, we need you. He was gonna do the dumpster or something, right? Usually does the dumpster, right?
Yes, that was correct.
Okay,
I think when we mark it on GIS that it's been completed, then a truck will come through and pick up typically.
okay.
And that's within the same range of whatever the website is active for.
So as far as from like. a
This is that
village-
special cleanup day that they organize.
Yeah, but as far as from a village standpoint of what we'll have to contribute, I think typically we've given back.
Yes, what the new twist that they're entertaining this year is that, there will be 2 dumpsters. However, the trash gets there, will be one thing, but you get to choose to put, assuming that you collect the trash from the township, you put your trash in the township bin, and assuming you collect the trash from the village, you put it in the village bin. So essentially, they're creating a little contest to
To see
generate,
who gets the most.
yeah, who has the most trash.
Competition is their prize.
I have no better way of, I have no better way of,
I gotta throw in there.
so,
Trash master.
Great idea. I think they wanted the village to provide a dumpster. Is what.
yeah, it's, the community cleanup day is April 26th. Rain or shine.
Do we need to provide a dumpster?
I asked them to get a donation.
They got a donation.
But they wanna, I know they do wanna place it on our lot.
For the weekend.
Yeah, for the weekend where the old General Sam's lot, the corner lot where, that's where they wanna place them, so. I think that's about the only thing we have to approve at this point to,
Randy Crum make a motion to approve, the use of the village lot for community cleanup day and that weekend for collecting the trash.
Second. Are there any rules what they can put in this dumpster? Cause what if people just bring their trash from their house? I mean,
good point.
Valid point.
I mean,
The only good way to police it would be for us to all be out there.
for the whole weekend, taking shift rotations.
Yeah, we could close her up and lock her out or something. We haven't had problems in the past, but it's due
But
observation.
she's not wrong.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you got about
I
100.
mean, I think that, yeah,
That's pretty gutsy.
They're gonna-
Police right here.
I mean,
Yeah.
they'll be,
Some people are pretty gutsy.
champion staff will be there over the week, during that day.
Okay.
You know, and hopefully common sense prevails on the rest,
Hopefully.
yes.
It's not optimal
Yeah.
usually, but
I don't think we want to request them to provide security,
no,
for this, and hopefully the community does this as a community spirit event, and,
yes.
those issues aren't a problem. If that does, we will deal with that down the road, but, there's a motion by Brandon, second was Chris,
Chris on the left.
to approve the use of the village lot by the Summit Champions for the community cleanup day. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion passes. Next Next item is discussion and possible approval of stormwater management complaints. This was a follow-up, due to the request that, some, neighboring, property owners to the Pine Vale, development, requested to be on it at the end of, some previous meetings. And, just trying to follow through with that, to give them, a chance to, explain their situation and, see where we can go from there, tonight. We may not have a direct solution, but, hopefully, at least we will, get a better understanding and, figure out a path to go forward. So at this time, I'd like to invite, I know there's the two different property owners, Mondors and Vanassus. So Ryan Voss,
Brian Bass, I live on 191st Avenue. The property, touching the Pineville development. So the hill in my backyard, it was created in July of last year. Since then, my property is flooded out almost 12 times. I've been told by the engineer from the village and by Capstone's guys that they have not done anything wrong. However, the hill that they created never existed prior to them at that property. Up until my time of owning this property, which has now been 5 years, my in-laws have owned it for 25 years, and not once did it ever flood the way it is now. Just since the snow melted, it's flooded twice. The rain that came through early April, that was another time it flooded as well. Seems that nobody believes me in the depth of the water that's there. So I actually have pictures, and I did try sharing it with the village today, of my son in a kayak. Or it's actually a canoe, so I can float a boat in there. It's 2.5 feet of water at times. Their engineer tried telling me that the water was coming from the cul-de-sac in front of my house. That's not true. Their Matt Baker, their project manager, tried telling me the water would eventually get deep enough and run to one of their holding ponds. It'll never happen. My house will be underwater before that would ever happen. There would have to be almost 15 feet deep of water there. On top of that, lately, their crews are not picking up after themselves, and now I'm picking up their garbage in my yard on top of all the flooding. So it's, at one point he told me that they wanted to be a good neighbor. They're not showing that they want to be a good neighbor at all. They're showing me that they're gonna come in, make as much money as they can and walk out. And that's kind of what I feel. So, and I've been told by a few board members that they're better than the last developer that was in town. I don't see it. Thank you.
thank you, Ryan. Anything else?
I'm here.
Yes,
Amanda Mondor. I have a home at 754 190th Avenue, so. Ryan is on the west side of the construction and we are on the east side. We share about 500 linear feet of border on the backside of our parcel. I guess we presented multiple times to both the township and village board, probably the first time that you guys would have heard it, and Jessica, you're new, so I'll give you a quick little synopsis. January 22nd, we had a packet that came through and it was from the Capstone engineering firm that did a water or surface water analysis on the property. The parcel itself that they're doing the construction on, and then kind of showed the directionality of the water and where the holding ponds were. I just wanna reiterate the fact that I think that they were ultra conservative when they evaluated the pervious surface or impervious surface. And they were very generous when they evaluated the permeable surface. So even just the last very minor rain that we got raised that pond down on the Grandeur by about 4 inches. It's not a big holding area. We don't have enough water storage. And my issue is that not this parcel, not where we're at right now, but what happens as construction continues to build out. All of the land pitches towards LaGrange or towards our property, towards Bill Williams. And then the west side of the parcels, and we're all gonna take whatever water comes from us because they're putting in impermeable surfaces. So my biggest concern is for long-term. And that somehow in the developer agreement that we have something that states that they need to maintain their stormwater within their areas. And they can't just push it onto the next land. Because we are gonna end up in underwater on the south side of our parcel, and that's not fair for us to take everyone else's stormwater because they got a good deal. And nobody's watching them, so. In the meantime, we have reached out to Capstone. They did a encroachment on our parcel boundary. Basically, they're trying to push us off into May, asking for vegetation to start growing. I don't know what that has to do with moving dirt, but our silt fence is working really, really hard to hold back the dirt that is out there right now. They also claimed that they are gonna be out there today cleaning up trash for the same reason. Our whole fence line is all blown trash into our woods. We haven't had a lot of luck meeting. We were gonna sit down and do a mediator appointment with them. They came back and stated that they did not want to have the village involved. It's our request that we do. Because I don't feel like we are gonna get anywhere and we're gonna keep getting pushed to the back of the line and not get a conversation out of it. I appreciate the fact that they got out there. I haven't been out to check, but I appreciate the fact that they got out quick to take care of the trash, but the stormwater issue will continue to be an issue. The erosion, they've lost one silt fence under the boundary already. I'm sure the next one is coming soon. So. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yep.
Um. This issue's been going on a while. Thank you for providing additional input, especially with a new board member. I know this has been a lot of back and forth. We do want to find a solution, that is agreeable. And I think my understanding, there has been some, at least for the Vanasse property, there's been a couple ideas floated.
So what they had told me was the stormwater prevention that they have set aside, they wanted just us to sit back and keep taking this water until it comes into effect.
Yeah, until the vegetation.
Until the vegetation comes
Correct.
in, which I don't think that's fair for us, that we're losing every time it rains. The other thing too is, they also told me in a meeting that 2/3 of their properties are supposed to shed forward the water from the roof lines and all the property. The one house that's now touching our property, 2/3 of that property will be shifting the water back at us. There is no possible way, the way they have it graded now, it'll go forward.
Which house is that?
It's the white one, I don't have house number.
It's the only one there, is it?
It's, yeah, they just
North or
started,
south?
The very first one, you're going up the hill there.
yeah, the very first one at the top of the hill, yeah,
So it's the first one coming in on the left before
yeah.
before those ones hit your property.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think there'll be 4 or 5 lots there altogether. They just started the second foundation. It'd be farthest to the west, that it'd be touching. The watershed would be coming at us.
Are they the final grade?
No, just, I know they graded around the White House, but the way it looks like they graded it, it's probably ready for sod here shortly.
I know there's been several ideas floated, but one of
I
them
have
was,
some.
possibly shaping a little bit. Obviously, we'd have to access through your property, but, shaping a little bit the contour, so it would ensure the water runoff would move towards the village outlot. Is that still something you would entertain?
Entertain, yes, but I know I talked to my neighbor that also shares that same corner with me, and he does not want any additional water. going through his property to go that way. I know I've been through there and there's a lot of retaining wall in there, and it's possible that might be a better option is to put a couple tiers of retaining wall to keep the water on the top side. Those lots are not nice lots to start off with. Half of the lot is down a steep hill, so it would actually make a better yard for those homeowners.
Well, the one spot would not, that I originally looked at and kind of went through it, Bob and with Chuck on, and I think Chuck, you were misconfused with it because it was on the other side on the homeowners lots, but this one is actually on the outlot that drains down to the back, and when it gets to the elevation of 880 on there, if it goes up to 890, if we were able to take that elevation from 890 down, that's what's holding back the water from draining to the storm pond. And then you wouldn't have, I mean, you'd get some water there, but you wouldn't get, feet is what you would.
I would still have to redirect the water off of my property, so it would flow.
The
that
water
way.
should flow according to the topographicals that it should flow naturally that way.
It doesn't though. It comes up my drainage field first before.
But you keep in mind, you got a lot of it coming back down this way too, from that hill. That's flowing back your way, and we take that away, so it move the other way.
It could do it, yeah.
Right, and that's what I was saying to Chuck, and kind of talked with a couple of other people and said, is this gonna make sense? To take that out, and it would be a little bit of work that we'd have to do to get that swale cut in there, but that water wouldn't be going that way, then it'd be coming towards, so you don't have that bowl. Cause right now you're sitting in a bowl. And if you take that edge out, the water will go towards the newly developed, storm pond that we have.
Yes. I know without,
And that wouldn't encroach on you or your neighbor's lot.
no, with my neighbor, as long as the water flows through and his is untouched, I think he'd be just fine with it. But right now, even if I just, one of the proposals for me was to cut a swell on my property just to redirect the water. That would all push it on my neighbor.
Mhm.
In the
Mhm.
spring, in March, after the high, quick snow melt, that bowl that Capstone was referring to push the water to, it built up naturally.
Mhm.
So the water coming down the new hillside would have nowhere to go. They don't live there.
Only thing I could see is are we, down here a little farther, we're, acceptance of improvements at Pine Val initial phase, is that something that we'd be approving basically everything the way it is, and we would have no further action on this then?
And you're gonna be accepting the improvements that they've made. Anything that's gonna be public is what you're accepting. Now,
That's roadways and storm
you know,
sewers.
so there's a punch list out there. I don't know if that, if storm sewer or stormwater pond is on the punch list, that those are accepted. And the wear course of the road is accepted. And the village is still holding money
Retainage for that.
for that. I mean, if you want to add some language about stormwater ponds, certainly free to do that.
Hey, Brian,
Yes.
how come Capstone's not at these meetings to discuss this? We sent them emails, request out, they knew they were on the board on the agenda. Yet they don't show.
I honestly cannot give you that answer, why they're not here, Bob.
I asked, they had another commitment that I could not make this evening, is what he had told me.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I've, this transition, trying to get things done, it's been little rocky last few weeks, dude, I didn't, did not have a chance to coordinate, to make sure that they could be here. Bob communicated with them, but, unfortunately, they did not show up, so.
We put a request in right away for them to be at next month's meeting. So we can get on their schedule. No,
Would you hold their building permits until they show up for one of these meetings?
All those things are potential we have lots of options we could exercise, none of them we could, act on specifically tonight, but we could take that up at a future meeting. I think, we now have reheard what the complaints are. I think the next steps are is to, revisit the discussion with our engineer and Bob. Figure out some game plans, engage with Capstone and, see where we were at. Try to arrange a meeting for your two your parcels. Between now and next month, or a special meeting. And,
I would recommend though that Chuck and I get together and walk that land and look that over so you are aware of what I'm talking about and even have that, possibly, I don't know, we call it evaluated if we were to take that out, whether or not that would,
Yeah.
handle that, because where you were talking about before was not where.
Okay, that's why I thought that's where you were going, but
Yeah.
obviously I was mistaken and, you and I talked about doing that previously and, I just would like to remind the board, I'm not saying there's not a problem. But, the village reviewed it for conformance with the ordinances and, DNR requirements, that was done. And yeah, I'm happy to go out there and look at it and revisit it again and figure out ways to help mitigate.
He has silt fence that is underwater, which means that the boundary that they anticipated for erosion control on his property have already been exceeded by a double row of silt fence. They're almost up to the biolog. So what they assumed would be the water load on that property is now probably 3 times that.
well, I think we'll work with, Chuck and Bob and try to do a review quickly. Get something arranged, for a discussion and, hold a special meeting or at the next month and hopefully have a better, plan for a ultimate solution, My goal was, we don't want to end up in a situation, yes. You guys are township residents and not village residents, but. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't find. Work together and find common ground and work together. And I wanted to make sure that you were promised to be heard, put on an agenda and be heard. And that's what I wanted to follow through on that commitment tonight. And, we'll recircle and, present some options that,
That'll be for next month.
between now and next month or a special meeting, depending on how we, the discussions with Cornerstone.
I'll make a motion to table the Pine Vale Stormwater Management complaints till next month's meeting. Unless the president or a committee calls a special meeting.
And actually, I don't think we need to take any action. We were just hearing the complaints. There's no action coming out of it, but I think we've discussed in consensus what
But it's gonna be on next month's meeting, right?
next month or a special meeting.
Okay, so
It'll be a special meeting or next month, yes.
but in the middle of that, Capstone will be notified of any meeting and not just hey, we're gonna have a special meeting, show up.
No,
That they'll get an opportunity to come there and discuss the matter. And I think with, some of the stuff that was brought up at the joint meeting, Amanda, I'm not qualified to, you're much with the storm drains and everything. I'd like at least you to have that conversation because I'm hearing from, the engineers that everything is where it needs to be. And if that is different between the two, at least maybe email and, have that conversation, in writing so that we can at least see what the differences are, because I'm hearing your side and then I hear there's not a problem there. And so if there's a problem, it needs to be, figured out at some point in time, or there isn't a problem.
I'm fine meeting out there or walking property lines or whatever, if anybody wants to check it out. If you do it on your own, just know that they're hunting on our land right now, so wear something bright.
Chuck, I'm sure you've talked with Amanda on some of this stuff yet, or
No, we haven't.
it'd be nice if you guys could exchange emails and
Yeah.
then we could get a chance to read through that. See if there's any issues with
Yeah,
what you
I've
said.
got the emails I can pass on, or Bob that's got it. Either one of us can pass along to Chuck their info.
They haven't provided as-built yet, correct? For
No.
grading?
No.
Okay.
No,
I don't know, I would suggest just, work through the village, and so we're all.
Yeah.
You know,
the village be the point of contact. But we'll make sure Chuck's in the loop, so.
Okay.
So on this topic to make, so Capstone knows you guys are serious, can you withhold building permits on the rest of my property? Until, on our property line, until something's finalized? Because right now, they can get to that area without going and tearing up yards or anything, but as soon as the houses go up, they're not gonna be able to get equipment through there.
well, we're not gonna do that tonight.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some meetings and see how that goes, and if we don't get a resolution, then we'll look at other alternatives, but
Is that, do we have the authority specific? To hold back on specific lots?
you're gonna have to find a breach of your development agreement.
Okay. Well, we'll have a,
Go down the.
we'll look into that, the legal options or what we have if we need to do that type of route, but,
I'll have some better alternatives.
Isn't it a pretty simple solution? I mean, if these people that have lived here their whole life, their land is underwater and a new development just came in. Shouldn't you be on this immediately this week and call a special meeting before they do start building the other houses? I mean, I think whether they live in the township or the village, they're Somerset people.
that's why. We put them on the agenda tonight because, whatever happened, that hadn't followed through, and we're trying to get back on track to get the solution resolved. And, I will follow up with Bob and quickly, and we will, start.
But Mr. Kern said that he went out there and he's talking to the head guy out there and talking to the property owners, and he's getting a different answer from each of them. If you go out there and their houses are almost underwater.
Yeah.
That'd be something going. We didn't have much snow and rain this year.
No kidding.
Valley Point, we will move on with this issue with the priority, so. Thank you.
Priority? 6 months has gone by.
Well,
Come on.
we have a new board, please.
And we get that it's a new board, but
One person's.
tomorrow is Wednesday. I think you should be on as a board tomorrow for these people and their families.
I can't, I'm not gonna, I'm just saying, we're a new board, we can approach things differently now, so let's give us a chance to do that, and we will move as quickly as we can, so.
When you do move forward,
Yes,
look
Lenny.
at dead ends next to Jordan Johnson's. How's the school bus gonna turn around up there? An emergency vehicle gonna turn around?
It's fun watching the semis with the equipment and
They backed up
materials.
really.
All those kids are gonna have to walk to where to get on the bus?
I think we're getting into some other issues other than stormwater, but valid, we'll look into that, so, yeah,
Hands.
understood that, thank you. Being no further action on this, Chris, we move on to 7D. Pinevale Developers Agreement Amendment.
Is necessary to be signed off on tonight?
Well, just. Let me say a couple words on this. This is the second amendment.
Okay.
And it has been discovered that. In looking at this one. I was trying to reference the date when the first one was signed. And apparently the first one was never signed. Although the board approved it. The first one, if you remember, changed the incentive amount from 1.3 to 1.5. So I would recommend that because it was already approved, that this one should be executed. So we have that. And then the second one arose because another thing that happened because this was never signed and there wasn't some communication, I think, with Ellers and the bond council. The loan that's been worked on is only for 1.3 million.
Yeah, 1.3, it's supposed to be 1.4.
It's supposed to be 1.5 something. So that was news to them, so there was some miscommunication there. So then, as part of the due diligence of issuing the bond. The bond council out of Duluth looked at the development agreement in terms of when that payment was due. And questioned the stage of construction. And it said, I think that everything was going to be done completely and accepted. And for Bob, the understanding was it wasn't gonna be done completely necessarily. It was gonna be done, the wear course was gonna be done, but not the first lift of asphalt was gonna be in, but not the wear course on top, when the village was gonna accept things. And there's some punch list items that were done that were fairly minor. And bond council wanted an amendment to essentially state that so they could be comfortable signing off on the bond issuance and the village would accept.
That's the resolution that's in front of it?
Yeah, that would be the acceptance of, that's what the resolution is. And the second amendment changes 2 lines in there that that mirrors what's in the resolution. In terms of accepting it.
So, yeah, I think maybe I know where you're going to. Well, approving these is in our best interest to make sure because they haven't been properly executed. Regardless if the stormwater complaints issue, to use them as leverage. I don't think holding back on this is the right avenue for leverage against them. To protect us, we need to get these executed.
Yeah, you need to get these, well, you certainly want to execute the first one.
Well, we agreed to that.
That's been approved already, it just,
Why is it back in front of us if we already approved it?
because it was never signed.
Well, then you just sign it. It's been
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah, that's all you need to do is
So
sign it.
there's no motion that needs to be taken on this, on the
No.
first
No,
original.
I'm bringing it up because
Okay.
that needs to be done,
Okay,
because the second one references the first one.
so the first amendment just needs a signature.
It needs a
The
signature.
second amendment, you have to reference to the first one.
Was awareness.
Yeah,
So,
so
But the second amendment, what's the change on it?
the second amendment essentially changes from the improvements being completely done and accepted by the village to being substantially completed. And the wear course coming later, the village holding, what, about $1 million
Somewhere
bucks?
in there.
No, something we did something similar to that in River Hills, I mean, cause we did that in my neighborhood, I know I was waiting. 6 months or so.
where course, that's not untypical to wait.
Typically the last thing that goes down.
So that's where you're referencing to changing the amendment or the developer's agreement to reflect
The
any kind?
amendment changes the developer's agreement to change that standard. When that standard is reached, that triggers the payment obligation of the village to pay that 1.5 million to the developer.
We're moving them.
That's what's happening in that, and the resolution is there to accept those improvements.
As
subject to-
substantially completed, but not fully completed.
And retaining the security.
What, doesn't state anything about the retaining the security, so we're turning 1 million back to them, or
No,
we're holding on to that, and that's our line of credit that we're keep retaining, right? Until everything is at. So is that enough to take care of anything, and then some if we had to have any modifications to what we were talking about here with these ponds?
Yes.
So even, so approving this, we would be saying that we're changing the standard from full completion to substantial completion. And then it would release the money once the bond is secured.
No,
It just-
no, you're retaining the money
Yeah.
until everything is done.
Yeah.
You're not giving up your.
I'm saying, but fully done or substantially done?
Well, you're gonna pay them the 1.5,
Mhm.
but you're gonna retain that letter of credit until everything's done. Punch list is done, the
Correct,
workforce
okay.
is on, everything's done.
So,
I
It's sort of a timing thing.
I heard you say substantial versus full completion. I just wanted to clarify that.
the only question I have. Where are we coming up with the other 100 and some thousand? Does that gotta go back out to bond, and do we have to redo our resolution for that? Because our original resolution was only for 1.4, and we're not there. Or do we have someplace in that we can borrow from and to satisfy the offset?
We'll have to check with Ellers.
Well, no,
We did the initial resolution for that 1.4. I believe we can do another initial resolution with the correct amount, but I will double check with Ellers on that one.
But do we have any money that we could borrow from? Like we were for the other kids
Right.
to pay for that,
You're saying the other revenue sources than adjusting the bond.
then adjusting the bond, and I'm trying to see if. I'm throwing a line out there, I thought there was, a little bit of,
Possible.
that we could probably make that happen in that area and not shortchange ourselves.
Andrew will confer with Ellers and get us options, so. So no reason to hold back on this despite what our previous.
Do we need to modify, oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, I mean, it's a board decision.
Okay.
Do we need to modify the resolution based on our discussions here tonight?
You can do that. That's up to you. If you
Well,
want to
the
change.
developers agreement just referencing basically substantial completion and the 1.5 versus the 1.3. So we're clarifying what needs to be done there, right?
And getting it actually signed.
Well, the signing is, you don't have to, you just sign it, yeah. But the
Well, we
resolution,
signed, they never signed.
the resolution,
We never signed.
We never signed
Oh,
it.
we did? Oh,
Forgot.
okay, I'm sorry. I thought I heard Caps.
the resolution. I guess my question is the resolution as it's written, Paul, able to be adopted? And we still deal with the issues that have been presented in front of us today?
I think you can, if you wanted, be extra careful, you can add to the resolution punch list items, including any stormwater related issues.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Second Amendment Developers Agreement and the resolution 2503.
Let's do, since they're both.
Mr. Chairman, I'm on 2503 with the additions that, the attorney put forward.
I said, being there two different agenda items that. We do them as two separate motions, so I understand what I agree with what you said, Donnie, but we do, just as two separate motions.
It's fine. I'm just letting you know that
Yeah.
you're gonna get them both from me.
I don't know, I understand it, but we do them for each.
Motion to approve it. The second amendment,
So you just want to add a reference to, stormwater related issues,
what you said.
Yeah.
the punch list, basically.
Punch
That-
list items.
Is there a
That is
second?
included with the punch list, the stormwater, issues.
Prefer to have that in the resolution, don't
It
you?
is called out with Ryan's property.
Is there a second on the approval of the second amendment, agreement?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Donnie and Chris, all those in favor say aye,
Aye.
opposed say nay. Now, Donnie,
Motion to approve resolution 2025-03 with the modification, adding all punch list items and any stormwater runoff issues.
I'll second it.
any further discussion? Everyone understand what we're trying to achieve? Okay,
You got that?
so we'll have to redraft it. But, is the board giving, once it's redrafted in that spirit, the authority to sign it and execute the resolution and not have to bring it back?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
And the same with the amendment.
Yep.
Yes.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
We need to call for a question.
Yes, was there a motion?
I made a
Is
motion.
there a second?
She seconded.
Okay, okay.
Just.
No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say the same. Motion passes with the additional changes to the resolution 2025-03. Once those changes are made, then I will sign the resolution and we will move forward with that issue. Moving on to 7F, discussion and possible approval of resolution 2025-04, authorization of engagement of Von Bryson and Roper SC for specialized legal services for the police department. In the packet, you should have it's Joel.
He's on them.
See that?
It was well written on there. Was this coming as a recommendation from safety committee?
Yes, it is.
You know, what,
I just want to see, does Joel have, well, Joel, do you want to provide any comment real quick?
Yeah, I mean, the concept's pretty simple. You know, we're essentially looking for a specialized firm if and when we need it. Right now, this is kind of a proactive thing that we want to put in place. You know, nothing against Paul or anybody else, but this would be a service that would work congruently with our current attorney, but I kind of laid it out in the packet, and it'd be used on a as needed basis. And I'm not really, you know, expecting to use it, you know, more than once a year, if that, but just something that was recommended, and I think it's a good idea.
So, yeah, just to clarify, I met with Joel about this and, you know, I was a little concerned about how this would fit in with the general village attorney thing. And we smoothed that out. This would be, again, you know, legal services specialized for law enforcement, criminal investigations, issues that the chief of police would need, specific, legal advice on. After talking through it, I think it's something that, would be a good thing to have in the chief's tool belt. He's fully, like he said, fully aware that, he's not going to be using it unless absolutely necessary. So it may not get used at all this year or next year or whatever, but, he just wants to have the agreement in place and the authority to use it. So
Is there estimated costs
It's,
$365 an hour?
Yeah.
An hour, right?
Okay.
which is, in the ballpark of our
Yep.
municipal,
But I think it's important to note, with that being said, that those, costs would be assumed and, you know, through the funding of the, police department's operating budget.
Yeah.
And not part of our general budget. No.
Correct. And Joel has stated that, yeah, he has, set aside, or, identified areas in his budget that he would utilize to pay for these services when he needs them, so. The other point is, we just clarified at the public safety meeting last night. Chris, you want to speak what that, that the chief has the authority to directly contact, just no different if Andrea has a legal question, she contacts Paul, the chief clerk contacts Paul. So, when he has an issue, he doesn't have to wait for
Right.
the three-ring circus to get him permission to move forward.
These like these cases
Yeah.
at his discretion. Exactly right, yeah.
Make a motion to approve 2025-04 as presented.
Motion by Donnie, is there a second?
Then- Take.
Chris Marino as a second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, I ask for all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Resolution 2025-04 is approved. Next item in your packet is something that I'm bringing forward. It doesn't necessarily need approval tonight, but I would like to see approval. Our online ordinances are what used to be held through Municode. Still technically are branded that way, but the new company that owns Municode is Civic Plus. Essentially what was happening previously, and Andrea, please chime in if I am quoting any procedural things here. When we would adopt ordinances, they would be held on to and committed just a couple times a year to be codified on the website. The problem with that is
No,
even,
they're submitted right away. The online is updated twice a year.
correct,
The ordinances are in effect and updated
correct.
Okay.
at the time that they're submitted.
What I'm getting at is they're not, you can't tell that there has been an ordinance change on the website.
Right.
What this does is it puts those ordinances in a special area saying new ordinances. And then just like it's done once or twice a year, then they're codified into the actual process. So it'll be a little more transparent and easier to understand.
To see them on Municode?
Online.
Online, it's the same, we're not changing vendors or anything, it's just,
They just charge us more.
actually, it's, based on what I could find, it's roughly going to be the same amount that we spend from last year to this year.
So this is not in addition to what we already have
No,
signed off
as
with
long
them
as,
for
as
2
long as
years?
we don't request them to recodify more than once.
So what about the paper copies? Because that is not addressed in your proposal that you have.
Good question. Let's, I guess then if we, as we did, I forgot that we still have to maintain a couple paper versions. I request we table this and put it on the next finance committee, and then we'll bring it back to the board. I just wanted to get the discussion going.
Sure.
Just because I found it very frustrating for myself that we would pass ordinances and they wouldn't be online, 6 months after you pass the ordinance, sometimes you don't recall even us what the specifics are, and you have to trace go through the packets. No, that's even more difficult for the general public to know what ordinance changes have occurred. So,
Move to table and forward to, finance, for next month's meeting for consideration.
Frank Grone, second.
motion by Don Kern, Brandon Crone, the second, all those here say aye.
Aye.
Bear with me by bringing my notes, please. Andrea, do you want to give a brief? Well, I'll
I know. Not really.
As you know, we met last Wednesday to extend an offer to, Jessica Lehman as the preferred candidate for the village clerk. With, she had some reservations on acceptance of it with clarification on, salary and her requests. We countered, we were offering 65,000 as a starting. We countered with an offer of starting at 66,700. And then with the tuition incentive that would apply. But deferred for 90 days. After her employment, the tuition incentive would kick in then.
What was the amount again? Fine.
Initial salary 66,700. Instead of 6,500.
60,000.
6,500, yeah, excuse me, 65,000. And so her, the offer that was made to her again, and that she has contingently accepted is in the amount of 66,700 with the tuition incentive coming in after 90 days.
But the tuition, correct, I'm wrong, but what I read at, that's subject to confirmation of the finance committee, right?
Which we would entertain after 90 days.
Right, so there's no, it's not a foregone automatic that that this tuition incentive is in place. Unless the finance committee approves it, the way I read it, the handbook.
Correct, it's just reviewed by the finance committee for approval.
So then we're approving 66,700, and then after 90 days, the finance committee would have to come back and make a recommendation for the additional amount.
No, it doesn't go to the board, it's, if I'm correct, it's just approved by the finance committee by the
It would
contract.
go,
Confirmed by.
They just certify that they have the degree,
well, they already got the degree.
but we're just holding off that incentive until she completes the initial 90 days probation.
The
essentially.
introductory period of 90 days.
I guess I thought the incentive was if you earned the degree while employed.
That's the way I read it.
It is poorly written, but it's been applied this way for,
Since it was.
yeah, I look back at it and if, you know, whether it happens during your appointment or when you come as a new employee, with the four-year bachelor's degree. That incentive is applied upon.
After 90 days.
Yeah.
But, okay. So maybe we need to look at.
So that'll be an additional 5% increase on top of that, putting her at, what's the final tally then after, with the 66, 7 and 5%?
$70,035.
Pardon?
$70,035.
As we all recall, just to clarify, the interviews went very well. She was the overall candidate. My personal views from interviewing on the first panel, and her resume, I think, she will be a great fit here in Somerset. Probably, we've had, a lot of good clerks over the years, but she's probably the most coming into this position, having the most qualifications and credentials and experience as a clerk than we've had before. So I would think she's gonna be a tremendous asset to the village, and we have some urgency to fill this. We've had a rough 2 months for our staff. It is very difficult for all those extra duties that are falling upon Andrea and Amy right now, especially, an election, and many other things that have occurred. So I'd really like us to approve this appointment tonight. So at this point, because it is an appointment, the clerk is initially an appointed position. I will make the appointment of Jessica Lehman as the Somerset clerk, should say deputy treasurer.
Second for appointment.
I need a motion and a second to accept my appointment.
Brenda Crone make a motion to accept president's appointment of the village clerk, Jessica Lehman.
Brandon,
She should be here.
She's sitting behind you.
She's right behind you.
She's right behind you.
he's right behind you. Yeah, yes, before we vote, let me, Jessica, if you want to quick introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
you should probably.
Yeah,
Give me
I'll second
Motion
Second,
second.
okay.
in discussion,
Yeah, yes,
so under discussion, I just a couple of things. There was a couple of candidates that were very good, and they were very, we had a good pool of people, and it was a good discussion as to the interviewing and what we have laid out here. And I know that there is other individuals, not just one, but this one stood out to the committee. But I think one of the things that I was concerned about and I'm still concerned about that is, there's a learning curve, and the wage of coming up at where it's at right now. I know we were entry level at 65. If you come in at 65 and you have a degree, you'd be at 76, 78. So I'm sorry, 68. That would be, we're only haggling over a couple grand really at the end of the day, but there was other candidates as well that were qualified for this position that could have been looked at as well. So just letting you, the rest of the board know that.
but in our advertisement, we did indicate the salary range was between 65 and 70. As the baseline, so
Again, we're splitting hairs on that, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman.
I'm just clarifying that's all it was communicated. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I will call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Welcome. If you want to stand, you can. Sorry to put that, no long, great speech, you just real quick, just hello.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be joining the team here at Village of Somerset. My name is Jessica Lehman. I've been a clerk at the county. And prior to that, I worked for the Village of North Hudson, so I am bringing some good experience to this village. And I'm really looking forward to starting, and I begin on May 1st.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you.
Moving on, we to 7I, discussion and possible approval of library appointment. We have, from the library board, the submission as normal process for us to approve Rita Lawson as the town of Somerset representative to the library board of trustees. So I appoint Rita Lawson to the library board of trustees. Is there a motion and second to accept the appointment?
I've got a point of order on this. I don't know if we can appoint them, the library board appoints them, we just accept them, correct?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
So there won't be any need for that other than the fact that we accept the appointment for the board, which I'll make a motion to do.
Going off the wording of the agenda,
Sure.
sorry. Motion second to accept the library board's appointment for Rita Lawson as a library board trustee for a 3-year term. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed to the same. At this point, due to not having a full board, I'm not prepared to make committee appointments tonight. So, the language states that, the standing committees must be filled following the 3rd Tuesday in April, so, that I have to appoint 3 standing committees at the first regular or special meeting following the 3rd Tuesday. So we will do that at that time.
So that being said, if you're gonna hold off on the committees,
There are no committees.
no committees will meet then?
Yep, what,
I think the ordinance is clear on that too, that the chairman has to appoint, right, subject to
correct,
board?
but it's the appointments of the 3 standing committees has to occur at the first special or regular board meeting following the 3rd Tuesday in April. So,
Okay.
I mean, we can make it really easy just by appointing Caleb. We could get the show on the road.
There you go.
not having.
So you're tabling?
Not having the full membership, it changes how I would, appoint people, so,
So can we go back to the village trustee appointment and can we try and get Caleb through again? Or we gotta stay here all night until we can get it through, or?
how did we end that? We just moved on, correct? We didn't.
We're gonna have to go back no matter what.
No, I'm just
Mr.
clarifying.
Chairman, the agenda items are on the deal here. We're moving down through the.
I understand, I just asking for clarification how we ended
So
7A.
the first motion was a tie, the second motion was a tie. To either appoint or table,
We moved on with no action at that
no
point.
action, you just moved on.
I would be prepared to make a committee appointments if we have a full board, but without a full board, I'm not prepared to make appointments at this time.
Who else would be better suited? The guy just served. I guess I don't understand the reservation.
I think my reservation is based upon how everyone in this room acted when we voted no, all the people that were upset about that. I'm kind of curious as to why. So that would be why I.
Can you speak up?
Yes, my decision on no was a lot to how the people reacted in this room when we said no, first time and the
What
second
was the
time.
reaction?
Oh, they were like flabbergasted, throwing their arms up in the air. So I don't understand that behavior.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to continue on with the agenda item.
Yes.
Yes.
As.
We're getting
put
off,
Yes.
we're getting off track. So at this point, moving on to,
No standing committee meeting schedule, right?
well, yeah, my point was, I was going to ask, the committees to review when they want to hold their meetings. But in specific, the Public Safety Committee meeting, regarding when they have their meeting on the second Tuesday or the second Monday, sometimes it's up the night before the village board meeting. Because just the way the calendar works, and it's kind of difficult. Chris and I discussed this last night, to get agenda items onto the village board in a timely manner. So that was the impetus for that discussion point, was to have consideration of just the committees looking at when they want to meet, getting to a schedule and making sure we stick to it at least for some time, a period of time before making changes again. But that is out there. We'll deal with that once the committees are formed.
So under committee appointments, are we talking about all committees or just the committees that
The
were?
only ones I was prepared tonight to do were the standing committees. I was going to do all the other ones next month.
But it says committee appointments and we have some that are expiring, so I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Chris Duback back to planning commission along with Brenda Forrest, whose terms are expiring or are open at this point in time.
Donnie, I have to make the appointment.
No, you don't. We changed the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
No, that is for our village officials, not the standing committee members, or
Planning commission is not village officials.
we did not change the planning commission.
Which ones did we change?
Only village officials.
The village.
Which one did we change?
The village officials, which would be attorney, assessor, clerk,
Building
et
inspectors,
cetera. Yeah.
no committees.
It did not address any committees.
So the village officials that are outlined in here with expirations in 2026 and in 2025, correct? Okay,
And just to clarify, some of this, Andrea had to update the officials list. It was a little bit out of date, so, just if there are some dates on there that are, incorrect. But, please understand that some of the term dates may not be accurate. We have to go through and clean that up, so. Moving on. We tabled.
standing committee schedule. Okay.
We,
You're on call.
yeah, thank you very much, thank you. 7L, appointment of President Pro Tem.
I'll make a motion to appoint Donnie Kern.
Motion by Chris Dubek, second by Jessica to nominate Donnie Kern as President Pro Tem. This is an election by the board and not an appointment by the village president.
I think Donnie's experienced and runs fair, efficient meetings. He's got a really good grasp of Robert's Rules of Order.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? I'll ask for a roll call vote for the appointment of Johnny Kern as president pro tem for the next year. Roll call vote, Johnny Kern.
Aye.
Jessica Clerk,
Aye.
Chris Marino, myself abstain,
Brent Crown, nay.
and Chris Dubek.
Aye.
With the abstention, and it is a tied again decision, motion fails.
How could it be an extension?
Because you need a majority of everyone present.
Why was Ryan abstaining?
Why would there be an abstention? What was the reason for the abstention?
I have a right to abstain on any issue, just like anyone does.
If there was a valid reason for it. I guess that's the question.
Because I don't want to get into the one choosing the president pro tem. I want to be the board making that decision.
Mr. Chairman, when you voted in the last president pro tem, you voted for that. You made that choice at that meeting.
Yep,
You're resigning,
and based on the
resigning yourself.
discussion after that vote was happened, I realized that may have not been the way I should have handled it, so
Be a moot point, if we had another board member.
that is why I'm choosing to do it now. I think me choosing or weighing in on who the board elects is not an appointment specifically different than all the other positions is not appropriate for me to make that decision, so.
So no committees, no pro tem. No trustee appointment. Very efficient government.
Yep.
We're really getting stuff done.
Moving on. 7M, committee of the whole. I just want to put everyone on notice that I'm looking to hold a committee of the whole sometime probably the second week of June.
That in lieu of our,
No, it would be a workshop style, getting full department head reports, getting to know the department heads better, reviewing our comp plan and trying to come, with some priorities and consensus and discuss a variety of issues of how we want to operate as a board going forward. If we want to, we do go back to the workshop style. Just have a discussion on some operating processes, in a workshop fashion. None of it would be just, decision making. It would be just pure discussion. And it gives a chance to just talk and not worry about the vote on stuff. And so,
And then when you come to the village board meeting, and then you make the decisions, is that the deal?
no, yeah, we would, refer things to the committee or the board or, whoever, that plays out on that day. But that's the intent, that I want to try to do is
Did you
get,
guys used to do it that way before?
we've never,
We've never done it this way?
Yes, we have.
well,
I thought
It
it was
worked
talked
pretty
about.
efficiently.
So now is that?
let me clarify.
I think that's.
When I have served, it was never done. When it has been done in the past couple of years, a workshop style like that. I'm just saying, when I served in the past, it was not, so I'm
That's
wanting
up to your, that's up to your discretion, right? That's what you wanna do.
to call a committee of the whole, yeah. I'm not saying that it'll be, it'll give us a chance to talk a variety of issues without worrying about making votes and just having candid discussions and, figuring out where we're gonna go with things.
I'm open to give it a shot.
So we'll whittle down the date as soon as I can and get that out to everyone. So that is what I just wanted to make that notice,
Are
no
you thinking
action.
of how often you wanna do something
But-
like that?
Right now, just once.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
so do we have to convene the closed session then for Wisconsin statute? I'll make a motion to convene a closed session for Wisconsin statute 19.851C, considering employment of a public employee which governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility, treasurer, deputy clerk, utility clerk, public works, economic development director, and chief of police. I think that's to discuss.
Yep.
Some of the other things, yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, and so then I need to clarify, roll call vote, Donnie?
Aye.
Jessica? Chris? Myself, aye.
Chris Dubak, aye.
Thank you very much. We are now officially in closed session. Thank you.
Yep. It's not gonna be on the TV.
Okay, thank you. I was waiting for that TV. So we get back to considering compensation for the extra duties and the complexities that and things that have occurred during the period of essentially February 26th, and that will continue to May 1st. Just to remember, we're in open session. And this is personnel information, but they have requested it to be open, so.
So I'd just like to come forward with some kind of there was a discussion, and there was a possible draft resolution that I'd like to put forward. Where it says, whereas this village clerk deputy treasurer position has been vacant since approximately the beginning of March and will not be formally filled until about May 1st. And whereas during the vacancy, essential duties of village clerk included not limited to election administration, meeting preparation, statutory filings, voter record maintenance were absorbed by the existing village staff. And whereas Andrea Otto, village treasurer, deputy clerk, and Amy Briggs, utility clerk, assumed a significant share of those responsibilities while continuing to fulfill their regular roles. Whereas this includes the instrumental roles in preparing for and conducting spring 2025 election held April 2nd, actually April 1st, in compliance with state law and local procedures. And whereas the village acknowledges the financial and operational benefit of internal staff support during this transition period and seeks to provide a fair and timely recognition for their services. Now therefore it be resolved by the village board, by the board of the village of Somerset.
Yeah, this is drafted by Joel.
Yeah, and I would suggest that Andrea and Otto, and I'll put this out here, Andrea and Otto and Amy Briggs each receive a one-time stipend and an amount of $2,500 to be included on their next regular scheduled paycheck. Said stipend is in recognition of temporary service to duties performed in addition to their normal assignments from February 26th through April 30th, 2025. Funding shall be provided from existing budget capacity made available by clerk vacancy.
Thank you, Donnie. I was at the same amount. The only other thing I was going to ask the board to consider is awarding a week, additional 1 week of vacation with carryover, so that when things are at a point that you can take the new clerk is on board, you get some time out of here to de-stress and clear your head. I know that's difficult. I know what I'm saying may be impossible. I'm just trying to make the offer and give you a chance to get out of here and not think about, no offense, not think about us for a while.
The clerk's wages were 72,000, is that correct?
Yeah.
Approximately 72,000. So 72,000 divided by 12 is 6,000. So they saved us 2 months' wages, so they saved us roughly $12,000. We're gonna offer them $5,000, is that right?
That's correct. That's what I'm putting forward, plus another additional week of time off.
This is a one-time week of,
Yeah, it'll be one time, but I'm
It can
I'm
carry
saying
over though.
it can carry over above
Okay.
their, whatever their caps are at.
And we appreciate your help in stepping forward, all of the staff, it really was.
I like that idea, extra vacation, might be tough to squeeze it, but
I know, I thought,
Maybe
That
next
would be-
year.
but I think, I
Maybe
do
next
think
year,
it's
once you get them up to
important
speed.
that you get a chance to,
For booking reasons, would it be all right, or does it make more sense to have a separate check for that?
and you're, well, knows how to handle that and stuff.
I'm just
Ah,
saying,
yeah.
just so it can be tracked maybe a little easier.
I just thought it was very important that they get some time out of here, you know. That's why I wanted to, whatever the dollar amount was, to offer the vacation time, so. Again, I know, your look on your face, Andrea, was, when am I gonna take it?
Yeah, pretty much. And do you know what we come back to?
I know,
Yeah.
but
Like,
if we have to say
Would you
it's
rather-
mandatory, we may jokingly say it's mandatory, but it's good for your personal health too,
yeah, oh, for sure.
is what I mean, so,
work balance is very important.
so.
So I'd make that
Difficult to
an emotion with the addition that Ryan has put forward.
Motion by Donnie Kern to approve a one-time bonus of $2,500 and a one week vacation.
With rollover.
With rollover privileges, to, Andrea Otto, treasurer, deputy clerk, and Amy
Great.
Briggs. I'm so sorry, I
It's
just
okay.
completely blanked. Utility clerk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Thanks again. Hope that helps.
Seriously, we thank you, and Bob and Joel, thank you for your generosity and your
That's where it's,
backing.
that's where it's appropriate, so. I appreciate it.
Adjourn.
I usually give you already got it in, but
I got you.
the new breed?
the tradition used to be always with the newbie got the first chance to give that, but anyways. Motion by Donnie Kern, second by Chris Marino to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You need this back at all, or?
No.
Shredded?
Yeah, why don't we hand that memo back in?
Does that have the?
I would, if you could use this stuff.
Yeah.
You just leave these in here.
Oh, I can take it home.
Yeah, so you.
It's not in the